this is a recorded training to help administrators who work on the report of non-university activities process understand the overall process, understand the disclosure, and also understand the process for conducting the review. So I'm going to take you into the application, but at first I'd like to show you the resources that are available on the Office of Vice Chancellor for Research website. Under the Compliance section, you'll see a link to Report of Non-University Activities or Conflict of Interest. If you click on the link, it'll take you over to our page for the Report of Non-University Activities. And on this page, you'll find the deadlines. You'll also find resources that are available for employees. You'll also find resources that are available for administrators. Some things that may very help you would be the frequently asked questions and also the reviewer guide. And then there's a link on our website to take you into Start My Disclosures, which is the application that we use to manage the report of non-university activities. So this will take you into the site. For the training purposes, I'm going to use a test site, and so I'm going to log into Start My Disclosures. So the test site gives me some access that I don't have in the real site, like assuming identities. And so as I go through this application, I'll assume different identities just so I can show you the process from the point of view of someone who's submitting a disclosure to the point of view from someone who's doing a review, or an assistant who's helping facilitate the process, or a second level reviewer who will be doing the second level review for anything that's forwarded up. So at this point, I'm going to log in as someone who needs to submit a disclosure. Okay, so when I log into the disclosure side, you can see that this opens up and it tells the person that this is their identity and what they need to complete. They've answered a series of screening questions that give them some background into understanding which disclosures are required to be completed. If that needs to change, they can update the information here. And on the other side of the screen, we have the RNUA process. Academic staff can go back and look at their past disclosures. It is important that you complete the past disclosures, so if you did not complete some of the reviews from the past academic year, it is advisable that you go back and complete those disclosures so that your employees can access their past disclosures and see the activities that were approved, and also use the data that they previously entered so that they can carry those activities going forward. So for this person, we're going to go in. She has a disclosure that's saved, and you can see she's answered yes to the question, that she has something to disclose, and then she goes through the process of selecting activities that she wants to report going forward. And so she'll report her non-university activities, but this initially shows up when you carry these items forward as incomplete. So she'll need to go in and edit and indicate the amount of time she expects to spend for prospective time, and then add the information about her role and responsibilities and update anything as needed. So she'll continue through this process and until she gets to the submit. And at this point, unless there are any new activities that she needs to add into her disclosure, she has a complete disclosure, and the application allows you to continue. And so she would continue on. She could upload documentation. If you were an administrator and said, I really want you to provide documentation, or I really want you to provide a written explanation, or I want records of your time, you could have someone upload those documents into the application here or add comments here. So then we continue on to the certification, And if you need to go back, you can go back and revise this and review your information. But basically, once you've decided that you're going to submit your disclosure, you affirm and then submit the disclosure. So once the disclosure is submitted, it lets the user know that it's in a submitted state and it can be viewed. But the nice part is that that you can, as a user, see who's reviewing your disclosure. So what we've added this year is some information about workflow. So the person who submitted a disclosure can see where the disclosure is in the review process, and once it's approved, they'll see that they have an approved disclosure and who's done the approvals for that disclosure. So I'm going to exit this user, and I'm going to go in, actually I'm going to go in as another disclosure and just show you the process for submitting a disclosure. When someone is returning to the system and has spent time on activities, the application will ask you to report your retrospective time. So in this section, you'll actually enter the retrospective number of time, and then save and continue. Now, if I had no activities, I could go forward and say I have no activities, I'm not going to do anything going forward, and your retrospective time has been captured and saved, and it doesn't need to be carried forward with your new RNUA. If you need to edit that, you can go back into the RNUA and change that. Just as with the other disclosure, you can carry forward any of those disclosures, but you have to edit and add that prospective time and information about the role with the activities if you didn't previously provide that. So you would just go through and continue this and submit your disclosure. I'm just moving quickly through this. We have another video that explains more about the submission side, but so you can understand, just get a feeling of how the application works and how the disclosure is getting submitted. So I'm just going to delete some of these, and if I needed to add new activities, I could add new activities or go back to those previously entered activities and bring those forward. And I'm going to move on and bring this into to my certification, and I'm going to affirm, and then because I've triggered significance thresholds with my disclosure, I've exceeded a certain amount, or I'm using university resources, such as I'm licensing intellectual property, I've triggered terms and conditions. And so the application here is reminding the academic staff member that they have to follow the terms and conditions of the management plan. And so those are available on our website, and there are links through our website to give you access to those terms and conditions. But those individuals would have to follow the terms and conditions of the management plan, and that would be good to be familiar with, especially when you have individuals that need further management. So I'm going to click on and submit my disclosure. And as an employee, I can also view it and see it where it's going, and also if I had to do sponsor-specific disclosures, I could go in here and submit my sponsor-specific disclosure. But at this point, I'm going to switch over to the reviewer mode, and I'm going to review the disclosures. So I'm going to log in as the administrator for this unit. All right, so I am in the system right now as the administrator, and I can manage my unit. Assistants can also help you with the RNUA review process. They have functionality to do just about everything that you can do, but finalize the approval for the RNUA. So assistants can create exemptions, they can return disclosures, they can help you set up the review process so that you can add documents or attach explanations for the review. Some units have a supervisor review it and put their sign off on it before the executive officer actually does the approval. But those are some options with the review process, and you have already assigned individuals who, or one individual usually, but it could be multiple individuals who are an assistant who play that role for your unit. So in this case, I'm in here as the actual reviewer, and the way that this works now is that you see the dashboard, and I want to show you the feature here because we have multiple years. It'll default to the year 2017, but you can go back into 2016 and see the disclosures from 2016, and you can also see if there is anything that's outstanding or pending review. And when you have the approver role, so when you see this here, it says you're the approver, then that's some action item for you to take action on. But when you have the role as read-only, you can't take any action on those. That has to be the person who's the approver. So you can remind those units that you administer that they need to complete that process. But the advantage, again, of having completed the RNUAs from 2016 is that the RNUA is complete. It's been through the whole process. The university has fulfilled its obligation, as well as the information being available to the employee, so that that employee, when they're submitting their disclosure for 2017, can use that information, pull it in, just as I was showing you with the other disclosures, that they could pull that information in without having to re-enter it and retype it. So it's really beneficial if you can complete disclosures for 2016 that are still outstanding. So right now I'm going to flip right back to 2017, and there's a reminder up here that we are in the academic year 2017. You can see I have 5 disclosures ready for review. And as the approver, I can see these are the folders that I am using as the approver. And I'm going into this folder because there's items that need to be reviewed. And I can see that this is my dashboard for my department. And you can see that there are individuals who have not submitted disclosures. And if there was a reason that the individual had not submitted a disclosure, let's say the person was on a leave, you can create the disclosure. So you can create the exemption. So let's say the person is on a medical leave, and you create the exemption, and then that moves to the completed folder. When that employee returns from the medical leave and resumes responsibilities with the university, you would need to follow up with him or her to let that person know that they need to do the RNUA disclosure. And so that functionality is available to both the executive officer and also to the person who's assigned as an assistant. So going back to my dashboard here, I can see that I have a disclosure that's has non-university activities, and it's awaiting my review as the executive officer. I can see these different disclosures here, and I can go through the process. What this page does is it summarizes the number of activities, and it also aggregates the days spent on these non-university activities. And it also provides you with some information about the workflow and where the future stop might be. So if somebody had, say, a secondary appointment, that would show up here, where you would see that you're not the only reviewer for this individual. This person has to go to a secondary appointment for review, so somebody is waiting on this person to be reviewed, and so it's important to move this through the process. So I'm going to click on the disclosure that I just submitted, and what the executive officer can see is a bit more information than last year. The appointment, if there was split appointment, you would now see the multiple appointments, and then the email address for the individual, so that if you needed to contact this individual, you have that information available for you. You can also drop down the details and see all of the information that the disclosure submitted, and that is available to you much like it was last year. And then there are comments, attachments. You can attach a file. Say you're reviewing this and you think that the department needs to create an oversight committee to monitor this on a monthly schedule. So then you could write up a description, this will be our oversight committee, and then the oversight committee will meet on a regular basis and so you could have the oversight meet, and follow up and do the review process, but you would explain that in the attachment or in your comments. So this is a section where you could add attachments here for this review. So in this case, let's say that I am going to forward this for further review, and I'm going to hit continue, and I'm going to say, this is going to need to be forwarded for further review. Department has a monitoring plan, and this would be much more specific in detail, but for the sake of the training, you can kind of understand that this is where you could put this information. I want to show you that this text box expands, so if you're writing in this box, you can see what you're actually writing. So you can go through, you can review your disclosure and review the disclosure, and then it will route for further review. So that means it's going to go up to another level for review. If I have these other individuals in my unit, then I would need to also review them. If I think that this is okay and acceptable, I have no concerns about this, I can approve the activities, but I can still add documents or make comments in the approval section. Those are optional, but they're available to you, so you have some functionality and flexibility with the system. And then I have one more. If I felt, let's say that something needs to be returned because it doesn't explain something adequately. If you're going through the review process and you say, okay, I want this to be returned, even if you approve one activity and you return one activity, the whole disclosure returns back to the person who submitted it. So it's okay to approve one but return the other, but just understand that the disclosure is moving all together as one document. So that would go back to the person, and then there would be an explanation. You need to add detail. And then, so once you click return for revisions, that returns to the user. They'll get an email that says something's been returned for revisions, and then they'll go into the application. When they open it in the application, they'll see your comments before they return it into the disclosure, and then they can pay attention to what you've asked them to do and make those changes, and then revise and resubmit the disclosure back for your review. So in this case, you can see that that's moved to the awaiting to response folder, and you can see the workflow also being documented here, where it's saying where was this returned to, where is it being reviewed. It's now in the hands of the person who submitted it. So then we can look also at the completed folder. In the completed folder, you can see the status of each of the disclosures, and you can click on these and review the disclosures as you need to. What you'll notice is that there are many more disclosures here in the completed folder than were in the folder that needed review. That's because with the new academic year, one of the changes we have made with the application is to one of the changes is to have anything that was submitted with no activities reported will move now to the completed folder, and it will show up as approved, and the employee will see something that says that their RNUA has been accepted by the COI office and that it's on file. That doesn't absolve anyone from doing the review. It just reduces the amount of work that you would have to do in the review process. But we still expect that as administrators, if you're aware that someone has some activities that haven't been disclosed, you need to follow up with that employee outside the system and let them know that they would need to submit a disclosure. So say this person needed to submit something, you could send that person an email and then PDF the email and then upload it as a document here to explain that you've asked this employee to submit a disclosure to you. We also created a total section. So this is one area where you can see all of the employees who are in your unit, and you can see them all in aggregate and all the disclosures in aggregate here. You can drop this down, you can see 100, you can see 50, you can see all in your unit. And especially when you have a large unit, it's nice to be able to see everything together. And you can also use the search tool up here to search for individuals who are in your unit. So the search tool is very functional, to help you locate things. And then I just want to show you with the review tool, when you are in here as an administrator, if you manage multiple units, you will see things at a department level. So for instance, we have this department 824, and there are two sections underneath 824. So 824-000, 824-001. If you're the administrator for both of those sections, you can be placed in at 824, which is the department code, and you can see all of your employees under 824. And that would be all of the employees under both of those organizational codes. Now, if you have different people who are doing different reviews under those different orgs, then you need to keep those separated, and you can't have one person at the department org code level. But this is a nice a new feature for this academic year. This year we're doing this so that large units that have split out into many different organizational codes can do all of the review under one organizational code or one folder. So I'm going to exit this user so that I can show you second level of review. And I'm going to go in as the person who serves as the second level of review. So I'm going to go in and do the review process, and you can see that there's something in the folder that needs to be reviewed. This was the disclosure that was forwarded up, and you can see the workflow here of where it was previously reviewed at the Vice Chancellor for Research office. And so then you can go in here, and just the same as with the first level review, you see all of the details. You can see the comments that were provided by the first level of review, and if there were attachments, you could review those as well. So if in this case, the second level review is really making the determination of whether or not the first level has provided an adequate management and monitoring plan. So that's what the check mark here would indicate, that the second level agrees with the first level that there's adequate monitoring of the conflict. If there was some problem, say there wasn't enough explanation, not enough detail, or maybe some documentation was requested, the second level could send this back to the first level reviewer and ask for those changes. So for the sake of this, I'm going to approve it and move this through the system. And same with the second level or with the first level. You can add a comment as a second level reviewer. You can go back and change your response. There's functionality within the system that allows for some flexibility. So that moves to the completed folder, and I'm going to exit this user. And then on the side of the disclosure will get a message that says their disclosure has been completed, and then the disclosure can be reviewed, and the person can see that the individuals who did the review process and when they did the approval process, and they can obtain a PDF copy of their disclosure, and they can see the details of the disclosure and the monitoring plan all in one page. So I'm going to return back to the review tool. As the reviewer, your job is to go into the application. This process begins on September 19th, but for employees, they have the deadline of submitting their disclosures by October 5th. And then once that deadline hits, we expect first level reviewers to start the review process. So the deadline for first level review to be complete is October 24th. This doesn't mean you have to wait. Some people like to go in and do the disclosures as they get submitted. The system has automatic notifications, but during this busy period where thousands of disclosures are being submitted, we've turned off those disclosures and or those notifications that come from the system, and you will get messages from the Vice Chancellor for Research Office reminding you that you need to go in and complete the disclosure process. If you have questions during this time period, please feel free to reach out to the Conflict of Interest Office. We're here to help answer any questions, especially if you have very specific questions about your employees. But as a reminder, the resources are here to help you through the review process, and also to help answer questions about the review, the disclosure side, and also the review side of the disclosure. COI office, you can reach me. I'm Jacqueline Jancis, the Director for Conflict of Interest, and you can reach Scott McEwen. He's the COI coordinator. Both of us can be reached at the COI at uic.edu listserv, and you can send that to us, and possibly you'll get a quicker answer because it will go to both of us. But we're both here to answer your questions about the RNUA process. Feel free to reach out to us anytime, and thank you for your role and participation in the process.